Good morning. Thanks for joining me. Today's topic is entitled The Testing Times of Tech. That's not the testing as in trying it out. This is the testing from the moment you decide to purchase tech to the actual time you get some productive results from the tech. What do I mean by testing times? The tech I'll be covering today is associated with my hobbies. Drones, cameras, both still and video, fishing gear, and metal detecting. And I better include computers, both desktops and laptops. All of these tech, and I should qualify, I'm a Mackie fitter from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. You get the picture. I'm a Mackie fitter, so I've always handled spanners, built things, had to understand how other people built things, how things work, how things interacted, how things could be adapted. So tech should be, and the emphasis on the word should, be another tool in my toolbox or armoury to enable me to create things that I want. I might as well put it out there, I've chased tech for many, many years. As a family man with a wife and 3 sons who grew up in the age of computing, I had to become knowledgeable in similar equipment. I took to this with ease, enjoyed it, loved it, looked for reasons to include more and more tech. Little did I know, I was stressing the desktop and then subsequent laptop computers to limits they didn't want to go to. And little did I know, I was then on the roller coaster of emotions, needs and must-haves of chasing the latest tech. Being a family man, I was never going to go out and purchase the latest equipment. I think in the early days I was always 2 years behind the curve. When people had 486s and Pentiums, I had a 286. When people modelled with 3D Studio on a modern PC, I had a 286 PC with a Maths coprocessor and multiple 40 megabyte, that's megabyte everybody, not gigabyte, 40 megabyte hard drives. And some of my renders would take 2 days and 2 nights to accomplish for 3D models. Being a family man, I encourage my young sons to become PC literate, little knowing that this would help them all in later life, and it would be a foundation for myself. Back in the days when you learned BASIC, and that's a programming language, the word basic, you could do all sorts, and PCs could take information in from sensors and pass information out. Digital to analog converters and analog to digital converters were attached to the PC and other desktops to enable you to control very simple devices. But that was enough to get me started. Updates from one operating system to the next based on new things the operating system could now achieve encouraged me to constantly update the system. But as the operating system grew larger and more unwieldy, we lost control of what was what. And the hard drive of every PC was just like an overstuffed wardrobe. Adding a second wardrobe momentarily put off the problem. Adding a third and subsequently fourth, all of a sudden it was a case of, where did I store that file? What was it called again? File structures, directory structures, all played a part in your enjoyment of building a PC and creating things. Things usually consisted of printers, initially dot matrix, possibly scanners to get photos into the PC, simple cameras with the appropriate cables. The seed was set. We were hooked into a system whereby we thought the latest tech would solve our problems. Little did we know. Being 2 years behind the curve, I did lots of reading. Computer magazines played a big part. One came out weekly and most came out monthly. It was from these formed opinions of what you could and couldn't do with your budget on a PC. Fast forward to the present day, am I still behind the curve? Not so much, but by choice in a lot of instances. I have a couple of desktops, very basic now, a couple of laptops which struggle to work with the resolution that videos and cameras produce, but average Joe doesn't have a top of the range monitor, so I can continue to produce videos at a slightly lower res than is possible with industry equipment today, and people still see it and I think enjoy it. What does it mean by having multiple devices? That's an echo from the past. Multiple hard drives, multiple PCs or desktops, laptops, and external hard drives still there, attached by USB rather than attached to the motherboard in past creations. Still have loads of wardrobe space, cluttered wardrobes. If I put a hard drive into one of the external hard drive hubs, it's seen straight away by the operating system of the laptop, but it's invariable. It's invaried. It's full to the gunnels. Try another external hard drive, full up. Another one, nearly full up. How do we get to this situation? It's because everything's precious that we create. You kid yourself that external hard drives are a cheap way to store things. That's not the answer at all. It's just because we don't want to bin something and then wish we hadn't at a later date. Devices that attach to other devices include phones, and we all know that they like to be updated on a regular basis. All tech equipment has firmware and software updates on a regular basis, because the tech giants, I'm afraid to say it, they use us as beta testers, and they don't fix every fault until the crowd demand it. Vote with your feet is an obvious phrase, but that usually means that you would buy an alternative product, and they're all much of a muchness, so you may be likening yourself to one brand, but there's lots similar, and they all have similar faults or errors. In a drone, there could be a tendency to fly away, and that doesn't end very well. Talking about drones, my weapon of choice is an old DJI Mavic Pro. I guess you would call it Series 1, but because we're on Series 4 of multiple variants, then you start to get a picture how old this device is. It uses an older type of software which I love. It does everything I want. The camera is 4K, which is far better than I need for YouTube videos, but I'll take it. And it's very reliable, touch wood. Things you want on a drone, and what DJI give me consistently: the ability to hover and take still photos, and the ability to return to home if you've set the home point before you set off. With the DJI Mavic Pro, as long as you press record as a first step during either before takeoff or just after takeoff, press record and make sure you stop recording, which saves the drone video and camera footage. So stop recording at the end of your flight. Pretty simple rules really. Start recording, take off, fly out, pause the video recording or stop the video recording, take a few still shots, press video record, bring the drone back, land it, stop video record. Couldn't be much simpler than that. When I'm back at base, I've got two choices. I can take an SD card out from the drone, put it into a reader which plugs into a USB port, and then view, upload and edit any footage. Or I could put a cable from the drone into a USB port and read directly off the SD card. So DJI, they haven't got it perfect, but it's the best I've seen, and that continues to be the go-to drone for myself. I've tried various other drones, I've seen more expensive drones, I've seen reviews of drones and picked holes in all of them. I suppose I should mention, I view the footage live from the drone on an iPad mini, which is a fair size screen, much better than a phone screen, and in my view much better than the built-in screen on some of the very expensive DJI drones. Why they would pay exorbitant amounts for a few nits that I can't see the point. Literally can't see. I would have to put glasses on. Is it weather affected? Well, yes, I would have a sunscreen, sun shield around the iPad, so I could move my head closer and see the screen without any blinding. I've even been known to just fly the drone on the iPad with almost no vision. Because of cataracts, this curbed my enthusiasm to fly at all because I couldn't see properly, but that's been sorted and I'm back to flying full time within the next few weeks. That's drones, of which I have 3 batteries. What use is multiple batteries? I can bring it back, land it, change a battery, change the SD card and send it off for a second flight. Get some footage, come back to the home point, land it, save the video, change the battery, possibly change the SD card and fly for a third time. Why would I change the SD card? Well, I have a number of SD cards, as you may have yourself. So why not? When you risk flying a drone, you risk losing it. So here's a scenario. You fly flight 1, you get some amazing footage, you come back and land, change the battery, off you go. Flight 2, amazing footage, come back, change the battery, off you go. Flight 3, the SD card corrupts, or you have problems with your drone. You then have lost all 3 flights and subsequent footage. Is it worth changing SD cards? That's your choice. I choose to change SD cards after what I would call memorable flights. So that's 3 batteries with a drone. Would I have more? I guess so, if they turned up. Batteries have a finite lifespan. I am concerned that the use of my drone is dependent on the battery life, and I do look for alternatives, and that may well be by the ever more expensive equivalent battery from DJI. While we're on the subject of batteries, every tech device we own has batteries with a finite lifespan. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. Your camera or tech device might have an SD card, excuse me, with a lifespan of quite a large capacity. I don't know what size SD cards you, my viewers, use. I like 32 and 64 gig SD cards. Yes, you can get massive ones, but I save them for the 360 cameras, which produce big files. So, multiple batteries, why? It's so you can continue using the camera or whatever device the tech demands. These batteries invariably can be charged through the camera or device and through an external hub. So the key to enjoying a day is the night before you go, charge all your batteries. Load up your device, check for connection, and see if there's any updates necessary to enjoy your day out. You don't want to be out in the field, so to speak, when the software needs to be updated and it won't let you progress. So do that the day before and hope there isn't any updates on the morning of your day out. Getting back to batteries, they subtly vary in size and port shape. You end up with lots of battery hubs. You're then left with a problem, well, the puzzle of which battery fits which device, and which number of battery is okay, fully charged, and which isn't. Now, it would be nice if battery manufacturers, device manufacturers, all got together. Imagine that cooperation. If all tech devices got together and said, let's produce a battery of a certain capacity and a certain physical size, so that it would fit multiple devices. Wow. I guess I'm reaching out a bit too far there. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'm interested to know. Would it be profitable for tech manufacturers to all produce the same battery size and equivalent. SD cards have got there. There used to be ST was the shape, and then micro SD fit inside the ST. So they've come to a point where we can use similar device in multiple positions. Functions of tech. When you've done your research, and I hope you do, rather than just use the reviews to see how people have got on with it, when you look for functions of a new piece of tech and you go to YouTube videos, you'll see a lot of reviews, glowing commentary. But they don't always show real world results. They show the possibilities, and then they make light of any shortcomings. Some don't even mention it. And it's for you, the beta tester, to ask for that update that you thought you were buying. Creators who review tech get sent this gear, sometimes for nothing, sometimes to keep, sometimes for short term, as long as they review it honestly. But it's in their interest to keep getting sent more and more tech by reviewers, by companies, should I say, to review. So they're not going to find holes in everything, flaws. That's up to us to discern it. And that's why being a couple of years behind the curve can be beneficial when looking at reviews of the original launch and then the latest updated after beta testers highlighted any fault. If the device is still in existence, still being used, then it's got some basis of strength, and you'll be much more knowledgeable in whether it's going to do what you want it to do. What else do we need with any new camera or device? Accessories. My accessory of choice are tripods, desktop, out in the field full size, ball heads, pan and tilt, automated pan and tilt. So I do love a good tripod, and yes, I do tend to have a favourite tripod for each device. It's a good job I've got a big boot on my car. I long ago stopped liking the idea of taking one device off a tripod to mount another device. Why not have a tripod for each? and I modified them. Well, I had to, didn't I? I'm a Mackie fitter. I've always been building and innovating. That was just my postman coming. I'll see what he's brought later. Tripods. Buy decent ones and expect to buy one for each of your valuable cameras and screens. I even mounted an iPad mini to one with a sunshade and dedicated just to when I'm flying the drone. Screens. The devices you choose usually come with screens. Everybody demands to see what the camera sees. It may have a tilt, it may have a swivel, it may have a vlogging screen, it may be attached so you can see another screen, or even give a second screen to somebody who wants to see what the drone is seeing in the sky. They all need updating with software and hardware. Again, I'm way behind the curve, but I love the iPad for its versatility. Just as a aside, while talking about iPads, I've had iPads from the earliest version to some of the modern versions with the high-res screens. But I chose to buy them with cracked or broken screens. And I found that if you're happy with your purchase and it does all work, but it's got some cracks somewhere in the corners, fit a screen protector. And when you use it, you'll enjoy it. You won't look for the crack, the screen. You won't be focused on that. After a very short while, you'll just look at the content. Here's a test for you. You're meeting somebody. You see them across the room. You go up, you shake the hand, you say hello. You see them. You see how they're dressed, what the hair's like, whether they have a beard or moustache, what clothing they're wearing. And then you sit down to talk. Once you start talking, you don't notice any detail about them at all. If you were to, or they were to leave at that point, try and describe them to somebody else. This is exactly what happens when you buy a device with a cracked screen. You don't notice the cracked screen after a short while. You just get on and use it. And that's my tip for saving money, so you can buy more tech or put petrol in the car and travel further afield. Magnetic mounts. I'm going to touch on these because they're not what they seem. Why would you have a magnetic mount? At some point, you're going to film yourself driving to a destination, and you might want to mount the camera outside on the car, filming the road, or even filming yourself. Are they all suitable for purpose? No. Are they subject to wind? Yes. Could you lose your device? Definitely. Are they invisible? No. Does it give the game away if you don't reframe the video? Yes. Keep looking and you'll find decent magnetic mounts. But don't expect too much from them. Your device is always worth more than the price you pay for the magnetic mount. So don't expect too much. You wouldn't expect to lift your car with the mount, would you? So don't expect the magnetic mount to hold with such force that it's never going to let go, because you want it to let go so you can get the mount off the car or the object. If we were talking about a mag mount that would turn on and off, an electromagnet device, then I think you could confidently expect it to work through most circumstances. Going back to industry, we used to use electromagnet devices to hold dial test indicators for accurate measurement, and we would attach them to other parts of the equipment while testing a shaft for concentricity or accuracy, or couplings for run out. So mag bases that aren't electromagnetic, they're always a compromise. Just think of this. If they were that good that you could never get them off, you would never get them off. I'm going to pause this now and make a much needed cuppa. Welcome back. I hope you got a chance to make yourself a drink. My drink of choice is tea. Not coffee, not liquor at this time of day, not fruit juice, tea. I love it. Don't question it. I don't challenge how many times I drink it. I just enjoy it. You've seen this mug appear in lots of my videos. F1 Pit Pass, made by a good friend. Thanks, Carly. Thanks for my mug. Getting back to tech and the testing times. What are the cameras and what tests? Well, as you may have gathered, all tech comes with associated issues, shortfalls, constraints, compromises, and software to learn. We've all got phones. Most of us have never explored the phones to any great depth, so we're still discovering new things. And every update suggests that there's even more to be learnt. And it's the same with cameras. I have a couple of Insta360 One X2 360 cameras. They shoot in full 360 at all times. They shoot 5.7K shared amongst two lenses, so it's more like 2K footage that you're viewing, but it's amazing, and it comes with lots of issues. We're up to version 3 of the model at present. I've had version 1 and 2 and many variants of the version 1, so I can talk from experience. Another relatively new purchase, so it is cutting edge, Insta360 Go 3. It's an action type camera, tiny, wearable, has a magnetic base and a charging hub built in. So I resisted action cameras over the years because I'm not an action camera type person. I don't do downhill mountain biking. I don't do skiing, skateboarding. I tried one on a motorcycle last year, but my 360 camera was more use. Why did I get it? I wanted something to complement my arsenal of cameras, and it had to be an action camera. So the Go 3 got the thumbs up. and it's working out all right. But there's lots of things to learn. Stills, videos, 360, all have a host of testing times for tech. I may learn how to use something by using it over and over again, and then put it in my camera bag and not use it for 6 months. And I'll have to relearn it all again, or so it seems. It is a challenge. My trusty video cameras, the Sony HDRs, I've had a 450, a 240 and 240E. They're all amazing video cameras. Not up to today's high spec, but so easy to use and so comfortable to set them up. But you just press record and leave them to it with either a 1 hour battery or a cable to a power bank, and then you might have 3 hours of use while it fills up the SD card. It doesn't have remote viewing, it's just visible through the side screen, but it's produced everything I want for the past few years, so I'm sticking with it. So that may well be the end of the camera talk. Now, testing times in tech isn't just related to cameras and drones. Would you believe it covers metal detecting, as yet a new hobby with lots of settings. Imagine you go metal detecting at the beach, you come home and you found you've been on the wrong setting, or somebody suggests a setting, and you go back and you get find after find. It's going to cross your mind that if you'd only researched it more, you would know that that was the setting to use for the moment. So it touches us, tech that is, in lots of things that we do. Even fishing gear, you have to relearn the equipment and the technique for various species of carp and the area that you plan to fish. It might be a specific peg on a lake, a feature, a bush, or in my case, a known favourite peg with a known tried and tested method. I have a favourite pole. It's a tri-cast margin pole, and I use it all the time. that I'm fishing a certain lake, and I catch lots of carp. Some days more than others, some days bigger than others, but I've caught lots and lots of carp with it. I had to go through a learning process, but because I did it that often with the same equipment, it became second nature. I used to forget things when I went fishing, turn up at the lake and have to make do without whatever I'd forgotten. So once I'd got the kit down to a fine art, thinned out as possible, so I've less to carry from the car to the lake. Once I'd got that sorted, I could relax into this sport. I've introduced cameras to capture any capture and enjoy it as a YouTube video, but that's for me to decide on each day. I guess I couldn't live with myself if I caught a fish of a lifetime and it wasn't on film to relive, because we put back all the fish we catch at the lakes I go to, and so your only memories of the day are in your mind and what you photograph. So, time to sum up. Testing times for tech. Expect any tech to come with a learning curve. Expect to only scratch the surface of the power of the tech unless you put the time in and use the tech. Expect it to complement your other tech, otherwise, to quote an analogy of fishing, if you have a rod and then you buy a new rod, does that mean the old rod is consigned to the rod bag forevermore? I don't think that's the right thing to do. So my tech doesn't consign any other tech to the camera bag. It complements it and creates even more memorable days out. Thanks for joining me today. Join me again soon.